Stay on.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another fantastic episode of the College Football Cut. I am your fabulous host, Mr. Adam Mack, alongside my amazing co-host, Mr. Jerred. Jerred, how are you doing tonight, buddy?
I'm doing good, man. It's another partially blue Thursday. Here to talk about some college football. I'm glad we're here.
Dude, man, it's always a good day. I remember, our logo is, Saturdays are for college football, man. I feel like, Thursdays, you have the shitty Thursday game of the week, but, you gotta love college football, man. There's nothing better, in my opinion, than, a Saturday of college football. I think I'll go on record, someone can record this, mark my words, everything. I like college football more than the NFL. I said it. I know I'm a terrible person. I love the Eagles, but, college football is better. Sorry.
No, yeah, in its own right. There's lots of aspects of college football that is better than the NFL, and to each their own, man. I know I'm not going to knock you for that.
Hell yeah, man. Listen, we got a decent amount of fun stuff to talk about. I guess we'll start with the big one, the playoff rankings. Not much change looking at it. I don't have a graphic for this week, but top 7, no changes. The big changes will occur from, looking at it 8 through 13, with Oklahoma dropping 5 after, pretty embarrassing loss to Baylor. But, Notre Dame goes up 1, Oklahoma State goes up 1, Wake goes up 2 after a loss the previous week. Baylor goes up 2 after the win against Oklahoma. Ole Miss comes in after a good win against Texas A&M. OU drops from 8 to 13. Wisconsin moves up. A&M drops 5 after the loss. Iowa moves up. Pitt moves up. San Diego State moves up. NC State dropped 4. UTSA, the other undefeated team in college football, moves up to 1. And then Houston and Mississippi State rounding out teams that are unranked from the weeks before. But, It doesn't really matter, 10 through 25. I'm sorry, but it matters truly 1 through 10. And I got a simple question for you.
Yeah.
Who's beating the Dogs this year?
I don't think we've seen them yet. It must be a team we haven't heard of, because it's hard to pick a team that's going to beat them. You look at the other teams in the top 4, and maybe 1 time out of 10, maybe a little bit better odds. But, from what we've seen so far, it'd be very difficult to make an undoubtedly decision on somebody that's going to beat Georgia.
Yeah, they're just such a powerful team. But then, you love playing the what-if games, and you look at teams like Alabama right now, and it's like, what if Alabama beats Georgia? Does Georgia drop out of the playoffs? And I'm like, no. You want to pick the top 4 teams in the country.
Right.
Georgia's one of the top 4 teams, even with a loss to Alabama. I personally don't see it happening. I think Georgia really is one of, if not the greatest college football teams we've ever seen. Just so good on defense. Like, we're watching an NFL all-pro defense right now in the Bulldogs. And then you look at the offense, it is clicking on all cylinders. They're so well coached with Kirby Smart. I can't believe, Will Muschamp is on his way to getting a national championship as an assistant coach. But damn, it's crazy to think about. But, no one's going to beat them. And I think the question then becomes, when Georgia beats Bama, where does Bama go? Because can you make that argument, a 2-loss Alabama, 1 against the best team in the country, especially if it's an embarrassing loss that doesn't look good, then to an unranked Texas A&M, you can't make that argument that they're a top 4 team in the country when you have an undefeated Cincinnati sitting right there at number 5.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say is, if Alabama gets a second loss this year, it would just be the craziest thing if they put them in front of Cincinnati in the top 4. And I couldn't imagine it happening. Who knows? I feel like this year the committee's really raised some eyebrows so far this year with a lot of things that they've done so far. So I can't say it won't ever happen, but I really doubt a team with 2 losses is going to make the playoffs.
No, and that's where you get some other teams like, you look at a lot of these other teams. So Ohio State, they have a tough stretch. Obviously this week against Michigan State, which we'll get into, but they have a big game against Michigan still on the schedule. They had the Big Ten championship game, which looking like it's probably going to be Wisconsin at this point, which is not going to be an easy game for them. So they have a tough schedule, and they easily can drop 1, maybe even 2 games from here on out. So that makes it a lot more difficult. Is what do you do with a 2-loss Big Ten champ? And then you add in teams like who am I missing? Oh, Baylor. Baylor again is, if they win out and they win the Big 12, you have that argument for them. But then you look at teams like Cincinnati. They've done everything that you've been asked them to do. And kind of what Keith said last week, the reason they don't have more top 25 wins is because the playoff committee is the one that decided not to rank them.
Yeah, yeah. Isn't that just kind of a cluster? It's just like they're screwing them out of it because they're not even giving them the strength of schedule that they would need to make it in. And going back to like the Big 12, Big 10 conference champions, they definitely get a good nod to get into the playoffs. But if there's absolute turmoil within the Big 10 and the Big 12, if there's multiple teams with more than 1 loss, that's Cincinnati's best chance to make it. And it could still happen, because with Ohio State and Michigan State, they each have 2 tough games yet this year that they could end up losing. And then Oklahoma still has to play against Oklahoma State, but Oklahoma's probably far enough out of it already that even if they won the conference championship, they probably wouldn't make it. But there's enough that can happen to get Cincinnati in. And unfortunately, it's so far looking like it's one of those situations where they're depending on other teams to lose in order to get in.
And that's so unfortunate for Cincinnati because I'm not, everyone knows how much I love the G5. I truly believe they're a top 4 team in the country this year, and everything you've seen from them, they've been able to show you that they are. Even like the one game, I don't remember the opponent where they were tied 7-7 at the half. Okay, they came out and scored 35 unanswered points in the second half. That's top 4 team right there. Some of these top teams would have struggled, would have pulled out the win, maybe even pulled out like a 10-point victory. They came out and dominated a 35-point victory. They went into Notre Dame, which is a hard environment to win, and won with ease. So they've done what they've asked them to do. Desmond Ridder is a top quarterback in the country. And I think has the potential to be an first-team All-American. That's how good of a quarterback he is. Ahmad Gardner is a lights-out defender on the defensive side ball for them. And then you talk about the overall coaching. Luke Fickell's a top 5 coach in the country. He's consistently done that. And he's on his way to getting a big-time job. If they don't make the playoffs, you can almost certainly count out Luke Fickell. I think if they make the playoffs, you'll see them sign him to like a lifetime contract. But if they don't make the playoffs, there's nothing keeping Luke Fickell there. So if the committee wants to keep Luke Fickell at Cincinnati, they're throwing Cincinnati into the playoffs.
Yeah, and I'm with you because if they make the playoffs, that's obviously good for retention, and then that'll get them through the time period
money, which is what they care about. Remember that it's the most important thing. I'll get to our next topic soon.
Yeah, and then too until they can bump up into the next conference. That's just kind of what he's waiting for, right? So we'll see if he's gonna be patient enough.
Absolutely, and we talked a lot about our hero Luke Fickell being a top coach, and we'll get to kind of him in a little bit more. But another big story, other than the playoff committee, being just total idiots and very blind and not caring about Cincinnati, the coaching carousel, man, it's what is happening? I was expecting a lot of big jobs opening, but I did not expect the level of jobs that are open before the season's over. Because I still don't think we're done. There's still one big job I think that's opening up soon.
You think so? Which one's that?
Go Gators.
Gators, you think so? What about Miami?
Fuck Manny Diaz. I hate him. I hope he stays there just because I hate him so much. I grew up in Philly. Like, I'm not a huge Temple fan, but I like and I always support the hometown team. The fact that he was hired there, 2 weeks later, just resigns to go back to Miami because that job opened up. Well, I hope the guy. I literally as soon as I heard that news, I said, I hope Miami never wins a game.
Oh shoot! Because he's on the hot seat still too.
He always is on the hot seat. Every coach at Miami is always going to be on the hot seat. But look at other jobs that are now open. Washington is a big time position that just like under the radar open. I didn't even see like a notification. Just saw something at ESPN. Jimmy Lake fired from Washington is a few weeks out or a week after they fired their offensive coordinator. I don't remember his name. He used to be at Penn State, assistant coach at Penn State. Irrelevant. Obviously, he got fired from Washington. But no, Washington's open. Justin Fuente, there for 9 years at Virginia Tech, he's gone. So you look at some other jobs. Obviously, Texas Tech job is no longer on the market, but LSU is still open. USC, the big one, is still open. And then you have a lot of these smaller schools. So Akron still has an opening. UMass, paying FCS schools hundreds of thousands of dollars to beat them is open. So, you still have a lot of jobs open. And the best part is, once these jobs start to fill, it seems like a lot of them are going to be hiring current head coaches at other schools. So those jobs are going to now open. Plus the jobs of the coaches that know they're getting fired, but they gave them to the end of the season, Florida Gators. So we're not close to being done. There's more coaches are still going to get the can. Yeah,
it's already getting exciting, and I think it'll just get more and more exciting as those vacancies start hiring guys. Because, like what you said, I think it's going to open up new vacancies and new changes elsewhere, and it's gonna. I think there's going to be quite the ripple effect. We might not really see it till this off season, but it'd be quite the ripple effect going all the way across the country.
Absolutely. Again, there's a lot of big time jobs and a lot of jobs that are, appealing to young coaches. But, looking at, the two, as we go with the season, a lot of more people, you're starting to get a better idea who's going to probably get those opportunities. But who right now, guys, who's your favorite, do you think, right now to possibly get a promotion in some form or fashion?
So there's a handful of guys that I think have a good shot at moving up. We touched on one a little bit. This was a number of weeks ago. We talked about Luke Fickell when that USC job opened up. I think that's a possibility, but not a great chance. We were talking just here a little bit ago. Maybe not this year, but it certainly could be this year. Otherwise, I think Matt Campbell from Iowa has a good chance at maybe moving on somewhere else. Maybe. Jay Norville from Nevada. I think he might get picked up by somebody.
He's getting a lot of attention.
Yep. And then another one that I was reading about today, I'm going to butcher his name. Kalani Sitake, right, from BYU.
Yeah, he's
been there since 2015, and he's done well. And obviously that program turned out an NFL caliber quarterback just last year. So
I wouldn't go that far, but I get your point.
so we have thought to this point. And then Baylor's coach, how do you pronounce
Dave Arenada?
Yeah, Arenada. Yeah, Aranda.
Dave. Let's go with Dave.
Dave, coach of Baylor. He might be making some moves, and he kind of has a unique narrative too, because like what we talked about with Luke Fickell, where the AD that hired him at Cincinnati is now the AD at USC. Well, Aranda is originally from Southern California, so
you're forgetting the big job with him though. Remember where he came from? Defensive coordinator at LSU.
Right.
What job is open now? LSU.
Right. I was I forget what article it was I was reading today that that regime wasn't really favored by the administration after 2019, and I think that's kind of not sitting well with him right now, and maybe he doesn't actually want to go back to that, but we'll see.
Yeah, I know one thing is they built a dynamic team in 2019, so it's obviously they had to take a step back, especially Coach O taking losing both of his his right-hand men, and Joe Brady and obviously Coach Dave.
Right.
that third
Coach
round.
Dave.
But I think there's a lot of coaches that are starting to get attention. I think the one coach I think he's going to finally get the opportunity. Jamie Chadwell from Coastal Carolina. They've obviously taken a little bit of a dip this year, but they've had a lot of injuries, quarterback issues, different areas. So he's again a young coach. Even Billy Napier from the Raging Cajun for Louisiana. Again, that's where I think you need to start targeting some of these coaches. And granted, I think think the LSU job is going to probably, in my opinion, that's the caliber job that needs to go to an a coordinator at a big time school. So that's where I see a guy like Bill O'Brien, Graham Harrell from USC as another option.
Right.
I'm not even sure. One of Kirby's smartest coordinators at this point.
Sure.
So that's where I think the USC job, or not the LSU job, is going to go. But for USC, it's weird because they've had horrendous. Like the last few coaches have been horrendous. They've absolutely been horrendous. Coach O was terrible when he was there, and then Clay Helton was no better. So it's curious, what the direction they're going to go with that job. And part of me wants to say they're gonna do something stupid. They're gonna take Kalani from BYU, someone that's not ready for that caliber of program. Granted, you can get a good coach from a G5 school, but they're not ready to go from a small G5 school in Salt Lake City to Southern California, running the top tier of college football. Right. That's why USC's had no success at coaches. That's why you got to go and get a guy like Bill O'Brien, who has success at top tier programs in college and the NFL, and is now at Alabama. Get a guy like that knows what they need, and that's how USC is going to attempt to come back in to the picture. But they'll find a way to screw it up. They'll find a way to bring in a guy like Billy Napier who's not ready for that stage. But it sucks for Billy Napier that he's not going to be able to live up to that standard. But some of these smaller jobs are just, in my opinion, more fascinating.
Sure, yeah.
Especially the Virginia Tech job, for me, it's weird. Because it's that borderline school. Do you go for someone that is a G5 coach that, is looking for that step up? Or do you go like a coach that he got fired from a big school and now he's trying to make his way, like a Coach O? Or do you go, we're going to go a coordinator and try to make Virginia Tech back to the top tier of college football? I'm seeing one name, my boy from Marshall, Coach Charles Huff, is, a favorite for the Virginia Tech job. And I think that is the stupidest thing in the world. As an assistant, he was phenomenal. Top 2 running backs to come out of college football in the last 4 years. Saquon Barkley and Najee Harris were both coached by him. Number 1 recruiter at Alabama, which I love him, and he's being a great recruiter at Marshall, but you're recruiting at Alabama. Hello, This is Alabama. Oh, you're coming? Great. That's the end of the conversation. You're coaching Alabama. Right. So right now, what do you think that direction for Virginia Tech is? Who do you think they're going to go ahead and take?
My first thought is the coach that probably fits that role best, or the one that makes the most sense, is Jamie Chadwell from Coastal Carolina.
Yeah.
I think that might be a nice quick change for him.
Yeah, I would love to see these kind of coaches get.
Oh, we lost you, Adam.
Am I back?
Yep, now I got you.
All right. Well, looks like I'll be buying new headphones soon. Sorry for the terrible quality. But I want to see these guys get this opportunity. I don't want to see Will Muschamp get another opportunity. I don't want to see that. We've seen what Will Muschamp's gonna do. He's not gonna be good.
Right.
So I don't want to see a coach like that. I want to see these young guys who are hungry and they want to show the college football what they can handle. And
right,
Chadwell, I think he can handle that stage of Virginia Tech, and it's going to be a stopping point for him because I think he's going to build, if he gets a job, build Virginia Tech up and then move on to another Power 5 school.
Yeah, and for a new coach, from what we've seen this year, I think transitioning, not a new coach, but somebody moving up into a Power 5 conference, I think transitioning into the ACC after what we've seen from the ACC this year would be good timing. Because it's, there's still good football there, but just not as terribly as competitive as it has been.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm excited to see, just where the coaching carousel can go. And, you and I were talking a little about next week, but I like the idea, come Sunday, let's gather all the open positions. Let's take bets who we think is going to go where and see what happens. And I think the best thing is, I don't think we're done. Is there a job right now that you think this coach, he's gone? Like Tom Herman last year. He had to have known he was gone. They fired him at 8 a.m. and by 10 a.m., Steve Sarkisian was named the head coach.
Right.
Is there a coach you think right now that knows they're gone, but they're just at least letting them play out the remainder of the year?
It's hard to pick one without trying to sound too crazy.
Go for it. I've said dumber shit.
I wouldn't be super surprised if Coach Aaron Duff from Baylor already knew something, and I wouldn't be too surprised. We actually haven't talked about this yet. If potentially Jimbo Fisher or Lincoln Riley already had something lined up.
Did you hear what Jimbo Fisher said about open jobs? Essentially, the open job. He said, I'm gonna summarize what he said, but he said, "I have the #1 recruiting class at Texas A&M at the moment. Why in God's name would he then decide to go to LSU knowing he would have to play that?"
No idea.
And also, Lincoln Riley has been tied to every single head coaching job in the NFL and college football for the last 4 years and has yet to leave. He is not going anywhere until Alabama calls.
You think so?
I don't know. Everyone likes Alabama. It's Alabama. Even though it's going to get that job.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think one coach that, I'm excited for, and I guess not excited for, but I think he's on the hot seat. I've really liked him, but I think he's a good coach at too high of a program, Dan Mullen. He has had great talent the last few years, and he's just simply not going to be able to, he's not be able to hold that standard. Florida hasn't recovered since Tim Tebow left, honestly, Florida.
Right.
Back yonder, however long that was. So I think it's one of those programs. There's such high caliber of expectations that you can't live. So, everyone's saying Urban Meyer's going to pick up that phone if USC calls. Maybe Urban Meyer calls to go back to his old stomping grounds. I think that might be the reunion that Urban Meyer's been waiting for.
Gosh, that would be crazy, but I wouldn't be surprised because he, at least from what we've seen so far this year with Urban Meyer with the Jacksonville Jaguars, he's definitely more of a college coach. And and for some guys it's a big jump, for some it isn't, but some guys just have their niche as far as coaching goes. And
I also bring up another coach I think is on the hot seat.
Yeah.
If he doesn't already get another job, and I'll tell you who my possible replacement is. I had this conversation with Johnny Yu, who we had on the show a couple months ago. Obviously, and I said he's a huge Penn State fan, biggest Penn State fan I know. James Franklin, man, he does not show up in big games. Fantastic recruiter, unbelievable recruiter. Gets this insane amount of talent in, but then can't do shit with the talent. Yeah, he had that huge win against Ohio State, unranked, being #2 team in the country. They had the Big Ten championship game, but they're losing to Ohio State every year. They're losing to Michigan State every year. They're losing to Michigan every other year.
Right.
They're losing to fucking Illinois in 9 overtimes. They're losing to Maryland and Indiana from last year. That seems not where he was meant to. When he took that job, he was meant to reunite the city or reunite the whole state after the Joe Paterno stuff. Bill O'Brien came in, kept the program afloat, did his job, went to the NFL. James Franklin was hired, did his job, united the state. Now it's time to bring in a coach that's actually going to be able to take them to a national championship. This is going to be a shocker. Johnny's the one that brought it up, so I can't take credit for this. But what about an alumni? He has experience in college at a G5 school and a Power 5 school, taking both of them to national prominence. Goes to the NFL, has good success for taking over a shit team, but maybe he's not invested in it. What about Matt Rule returning to his alma mater and leaving Carolina to come coach Penn State?
Oh, man. That would be nuts.
It would be insane. But again, he's an alumni. He's a fantastic college coach. Like, look what he did at Temple. He took a pretty mediocre G5 team and made them into a top 20 team in 3 years, a conference championship. Like, insane. Then he goes to Baylor, where he has no scholarships the first year. They don't win a single game. Year 2, they're, 8-3, whatever. And then year 3, it's a one-loss. He's a one-loss team. Like, look at what he's done. And he gets the talent. Like, I remember I was running through his Wikipedia page, and Wikipedia doesn't lie.
Never.
The amount of NFL talent that he's coached between the two schools. I gotta look up some of these, like, the talent that he's been able to do. So some names at Robbie Anderson at Temple, Hassan Reddick at Temple, P.J. Walker, Temple, Raquel Armstead, Temple. Like, a lot of great players. Then he gets to Baylor. Denzel Mims. In 5 years of being a head coach, he has over 40 players drafted. That's incredible.
Wow. You know, all those names that you said, they were all from Temple too. They weren't even Baylor guys.
I didn't even get to Baylor. He took these guys at Temple that a lot of them were ignored over at G5 schools or like other Power 5 schools and made them NFL talent. Imagine what he could do that at Penn State. He can recruit the top guys, but there are also some of those other guys that aren't getting that attention. Robbie Anderson was a 2-star recruit, and his only offer was to Temple.
Right.
He goes to Temple. Now he's one of the top wide receivers in the NFL. Imagine what he would be able to do, especially at his alma mater. If you're going to poach a guy from the NFL, you're only going to get him at your alma mater or a big-time program. Penn State is his alma mater. It's a big enough program that I think, if Penn State calls, he's listening.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he would at least listen. That's that's crazy. And I just said it's crazy, but maybe it's really not, because obviously Penn State lost some key games this year, lost one game for sure that they shouldn't have, but they're not even hanging with the top teams in the conference right now, and this program wants them to be one of the top in the nation. So that's, as of right now, James Franklin's not cutting it.
No, I understand. He can recruit. He can bring players in. He had that one really good year in 2016 where, they upset Ohio State. They had a dominating win against Michigan State. They won the Big Ten championship. They almost won the Rose Bowl that year. We're not on the college football playoff that year. Probably should have made it, in all honesty. And he brought a lot of great talent to Penn State. Obviously Saquon Barkley has been there. Jahan Dotson this year has been there. Chris Godwin. The list can go on of the talent that he's brought to Penn State, but he can't do anything with the talent. And I think the other issue is the years that Penn State was so dominant under him. On defense, you had Brent Pry, who's still there, and I think is on his way to getting a head coaching job. I think he's going to get one of those smaller jobs like the Akron job. But you also look at the offensive coordinators. He had Joe Moorhead, who at the time was the best offensive coordinator in college football, without question. I still think he is one of the best offensive coordinators. And I think he was still a bad hand at Mississippi State. Then he goes to Ricky Ron, who was a phenomenal coach as an offensive coordinator. Now he's the head coach at Old Dominion. But you look at the coaching tree under him. Joe Moorhead, head coach. Brent Pry, on his way to being head coach. Ricky Ron, a head coach. Josh Gaddis, who was there. He's now the defensive coordinator at Michigan, on his way to getting a head coaching job. Charles Huff was the running backs coach and special teams coordinator, head coach now in college football. He has such great coaches underneath of him, and he does not have that right now, and is clearly hurting. He was able to hide those his inconsistencies and being a bad coach under his great assistants. He doesn't have that now, and we're seeing straight up he's not a good coach.
So that's interesting that you mentioned that, because one thing that makes me think is, maybe a lot of these head coaches are really only as good as their staff, and maybe that's just the root of the problem for some of these guys.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what they do. I'm really excited. But I think we're halfway through college football, the college football season, but we're not done. We're not done. We still have a lot more. We'll touch on this briefly because I love, this is the year I think it changes more than anything. We're going to week 12, I think maybe. I don't know. We're going to some week.
Yep. Week 12.
Week 12? Wow. I was right.
Yep.
Heisman Trophy winner. Who do you got?
Oh, man. I'm going to say Kenneth Walker just because that's the one I want.
Ooh.
I don't know if he's actually going to get it, but that's the one I want.
But I love that. No, I think if he comes out and has a big week this week, say 3-4 touchdowns,
yeah,
I think he handed the award over to him. The Heisman Trophy goes to the best player in college football. It doesn't go to the best player on the best team, even though historically that's where it goes. It goes to the best player in college football.
Yeah.
You can't make that argument. There's a little point in there where it's like, whoa, is Bijan Robinson better? Bijan Robinson's out for the year. And Kenneth Walker's going to fly up, with his performance. So I love him. And then you look at the quarterbacks. Bryce Young had that dominating week 1, and then has just been pretty mediocre since. Matt Corral, same thing. He was the first half of the season Heisman. Hasn't really done much since. C.J. Stroud struggled at the beginning of the year because he was hurt. Literally playing like, an all-pro NFL quarterback.
Yeah.
He's kind of dipped down now. So right now, I kind of agree. It's Kenneth Walker's award to lose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's while you were talking, I pulled up Vegas Insider just to take a look at their odds, and this is as of the 16th.
The DFS died on Thursday. Where are we putting bets down this week, boys?
Yeah. Where do you think Kenneth Walker falls?
I think he's still second behind Bryce Young. Unless a lot of things have changed in probably 2 days.
Yeah, he's at number 3.
Let me guess. Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, Kenneth Walker, Matt Corral.
Yep. You nailed it.
I should be in Vegas right now. Why am I?
Kenny Pickett, Sam Hartman.
I got 12-hour drive to Vegas. I should be on my way to the Strip right now to go play put money on the roulette table.
No, come on up to Deadwood, South Dakota. It's a shorter drive. I'll meet you there. You gotta come this way.
I mean, we might be making a trip out there, do a live show in the same room, but that's a topic for another day. But
yeah,
I don't know. I think there's a lot of excitement because there's a clear top team in the country. We all know, go Dogs. But like everything else is just, which is as a college football fan, is so damn exciting.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not like last year where you knew Devontae Smith was going to win the award. You knew Alabama versus Clemson or Ohio State was going to happen. And that fourth team, who was it? Notre Dame? Yeah, Notre Dame. Yeah, see, that's how irrelevant they were. Whoever that fourth team was going to be irrelevant. So this is the year it's like you don't know what the top 4 is going to be. Christ's sake, Georgia could find a way to drop to 4. Cincinnati could find a way to jump to 2. Cincinnati could find a way to go undefeated and drop to 10.
Yeah.
C.J. Stroud could play like shit and win the Heisman. Like, who knows what's going to happen?
It's pretty crazy because the only thing that we're pretty definite about is Georgia's ranking, and everything else is still up in the air. And here we are, week 12, and we can't really even confidently pick who the real Heisman front runner is. It's like, well, I guess we'll have to see. And there's still some key games here at the end of the season that I think will really, really finish up the story for who wins the Heisman and who gets into the playoffs, of course. But there's just not a lot of definites this year, and I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited to see how the season ends and what goes on. But before we get to game days, I keep thinking of new ideas. We also don't have that many games to talk about tonight anyway. So I want to hear your one bold prediction for the remaining of the year. Doesn't matter what it is. It could be an individual thing. It could be a team thing. Whatever it is. If I want your one bold prediction, I'll give you mine first.
Okay.
By the time conference championship week rolls around, Alabama is not in the top 4.
Okay.
Because I have Alabama. We haven't got there yet, and hopefully everybody stays healthy. Auburn's going to go and take down in the Iron Bowl and beat Alabama. Everyone is talking about how Alabama-Georgia is going to be the game of the year, but look at 2019. Everyone's like, oh, Alabama only lost the one game to LSU. They're going to coast all the way to without a conference championship game to the playoff spot again, and they lost to Auburn, and that's what I think is going to happen again. Everyone's going to bank on Alabama coasting along, no conference championship game. They're going to lose one more game and completely shoot themselves in the foot. Give me that one. Taking it to Vegas.
Give me that one. So you think they're going to lose to Auburn last game of the year?
Why not? Let's go with it. It's a rivalry game. You never really know what's going to happen.
At Auburn.
It's at Auburn too. There you go. Kick 6. Maybe go for a pick 6 to win it this year. And
that's one of those rivalry games where rankings never matter, in my opinion. It's
a rivalry game.
It's always clean slate. The Iron Bowl is, that's a good game to have at the end of the year. That should be an exciting one.
That's rivalry. I can't wait for that episode, rivalry week. Oh my God, it's gonna be a fun one.
Yeah, I think so. Absolutely. So my turn. I'll kind of do the same thing as you. I'll pick a team that's currently in the top 4 that I think is not going to make the playoffs.
Ooh.
And I think that's Oregon.
Yeah, that's what I admit. It's not a bold prediction. It's an obvious one.
You put me on the spot, man.
I've been doing that for 11 weeks now. You should be used to this by now.
Yeah. And, my thing is they could even win out this year and get bumped out, even though they're sitting at that number 3 spot. If Ohio State has a commanding win in the Big Ten championship, that they win out, win the Big Ten championship, and Cincinnati looks sharp the rest of the year, I wouldn't be too surprised if Oregon got jumped by both of them.
Hey, we'll see what happens. Man, I have so many great ideas for next season. We're doing a whole episode on just bold predictions, and knowing how I work, I can make 10 bold predictions, but as long as one of them comes correct, I'm taking that till I die.
Genius.
All right. We got like 20-something minutes left, but let's get to some games. We talked about the bowl rankings, we talked about the coaching carousel, the Heisman, bold predictions, but we got to talk about this week. I also threw together these banners like really quick. So we'll talk about one. Number 8, Wake versus Dabo Sweeney.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like Wake Forest this year. The offense is, absolutely clicking. I don't like their defense is absolutely kind of atrocious in my opinion. But they have that mentality that Oklahoma's run for the last 20 years. We can hold our defense, or if we can hold the other team to 45, all we need to score is 46. And that has been Wake's mentality. Clemson is, they're going to have a lot of coaching changes, I think, with Dabo's assistance. But right now, I like Sam Hartman and the Golden Demon, whatever their name are. Give me Wake.
Demon Deacons.
Demon Deacons. Give me Sam Hartman. You know what? They're a sleeper team to make some noise in the playoffs still. I know. Give me Wake.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think, and it's been really great. I love seeing teams that kind of come out of nowhere and end up really making a name for themselves, even if it only lasts one season, which, I don't think it will. I forget, how old is Sam Hartman? He's just a sophomore.
He was on QB, the show on Netflix, so.
Yeah.
That's how I know him. That's how I found out about Spencer Rattler for the first time.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. Gosh, he's almost got 3,200 passing yards this year. Got a good receiving core. I like Wake Forest in this one too. It'll be a good win for them. Obviously Clemson has not had the year that they have wanted to have, but
what makes you say that?
their performance overall.
Yeah, I think I was having a conversation with my friends. We were talking about the future of the quarterback position in college football is at such a good spot right now. We're talking about CJ Stroud, Bryce Young, Caleb Williams. We're talking about those three guys, and they're like, these are the future of college football. We're forgetting about Sam Hartman, man. He's just as old as these guys, just a little bit older, but he's just as dominant. So, we're talking about CJ Stroud. We're talking about Bryce Young. We're talking about DJ Olugbalakalaka from Clemson. How do you pronounce his name?
Uyangalele.
Yeah, him too. We're talking about these guys, but we're not talking about the one guy who's currently, right underneath our noses right now, and Sam Hartman. And so I'll make an early prediction, man. If he keeps playing the way he's playing, he's gonna have that nickname of Heisman Trophy winner because that's the type of special player that he is. So I really like him. We'll, keep your eye on Sam Hartman for the future, especially if you're an NFL team looking for a quarterback the next few years. You got an older team like Atlanta. Sam Hartman might be your guy, and I'm a huge fan of him right now. So,
yeah, absolutely. He's he's having a young age breakout. He's the team is having the year that it needs to have at his age in his college career in order to reach that type of development where we're talking like a Heisman Trophy, something like that. So, Wake Forest is building credibility, and he is too. So it'll be really exciting to see what else he brings in the years to come.
Absolutely. And this is just the start. I remember going into this year, I actually predicted Clemson to not win the ACC this year. I was told I was an absolute idiot. Granted, it was not Wake Forest who I had winning. It was UNC, but still pretty
I think we all had UNC winning it. We all thought we were being crazy.
Yeah. I thought most people thought we were crazy because we weren't going to pick Clemson, but,
right.
To be fair, all my picks but the ACC are looking like I'm going to be right. So, knock on wood.
Yeah.
I'm hoping my neighbors aren't mad that I just knocked on their wall, but let's move on to the next game. This game pains me to say it. It's our G5 game of the week. If you tuned in last week, we talked a lot about this team opponents. Hats off to UAB. I'll briefly touch on it. Marshall has not lost that game in 10 plus years. UAB played a phenomenal game. They just watching them were controlling the ball. Marshall had a lot of missed opportunities, and UAB, they took advantage of it. But they're playing UTSA, who's like having this surprising year. They're dominant on all three sides of the ball right now. So I think it's gonna be a good game. I think if UTSA is gonna lose a game, this is the game they're gonna probably lose. Obviously, the big implications for them. UTSA is not focusing on the playoffs; they're too far out of it. But this is the Tide who's gonna win the Conference USA West Division, and probably play Marshall in the conference championship game if Marshall can find a way to not lose to Charlotte and Western Kentucky in the next 2 weeks.
Right.
It's a good game for Conference USA. I'm not quite sure. I think UAB is headed to the American, and I'm not sure where UTSA is headed, if they're staying or not.
I don't remember reading about them in that article.
I think UTSA is staying, which after the performance they have, they'll be swooped up by somebody fairly soon. So, it's a good game, but I'm gonna say UTSA squeaks out the victory in the end, but it's gonna be a much closer game than no one's even predicting this game. It's gonna be a close game for people that aren't aware.
Yeah. It was tough for me because I saw this one on the schedule this week. I usually look at all the top 25 games whenever we're deciding what games we're going to talk about, and this one popped up obviously because UTSA is ranked, and I was like, should we pick this one as our G5 game of the week? I know Adam might be a little bit sour about it because UAB beating Marshall last week, but I was like, well, we got to talk about it. And Conference USA, it's pretty tight right now in the East. Western Kentucky's leading Marshall. Western Kentucky's 5-1, Marshall's 4-2. But Marshall
from this thing without talking shit.
I'm not talking shit. I'm just saying because Marshall and Western Kentucky still have to play each other yet this year, so that'll be the deciding factor who represents the East.
Throwdown.
Yeah, and then from there, it's more than likely going to be UTSA that represents the West. But should be a good matchup between UAB and University of Texas San Antonio. But as far as a game pick goes, I got the Roadrunners in this one.
Yeah, it's a fun game. I always say I like G5 games a lot more because there's a lot more uncertainty than SEC games where Alabama and Georgia are going to walk in and dominate.
Mm-hmm.
I just get super excited. You get a lot more passionate fans, in my opinion.
Yeah,
they're going crazy. Marshall fans are going crazy over a squirrel running in the end zone. So, I'm excited. I'm excited for this game.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm paying attention to because Marshall Charlotte's going to be hopefully a blowout in favor of the Herds. Go Herd, baby. But we'll see. But move on to another game. Number 3, Oregon versus the Utes. Again, Oregon determines their own fate from here on out. They win out, they're playing in the playoffs. But the Pac-12 has shown that anything is possible. I think one player that needs to step up, and he's not played to the level I thought he was Kayvon Thibodeaux. He started off the year hurt. I'm hoping that's the reason why he hasn't played as dominant as we know he can, because I remember watching last year against Elijah Vera-Tucker, left tackle for USC, first-round draft pick playing for the New York Jets now. He ripped him to shreds. You made Elijah Vera-Tucker go from a top 10 pick to a mid-first-round pick in one game. He needs to step up. He's that much of a difference maker that if he can disrupt the pocket and the offensive line of the opposing team, Oregon can be making some noise, and they could be a team that could possibly be playing Georgia in the national championship game this year. But if he doesn't step up and if he's not playing like that player we think he is, Oregon's going to slip up somewhere and get upset again like they lost to Stanford. But I don't think it's going to happen this week. I still like this week. I think Oregon's going to lose. It's going to come against Oregon State next week, or it's going to come in the Pac-12 championship game. But this week I'm going to go with the Ducks.
Yeah, I think I think you're right. You and I, we both live in Mountain Time, obviously, and then I don't get to watch much football until my kids go to bed. So I get to watch a lot of
the poor
Pac-12 and Mountain West football. What's that?
The poor father life for you.
Yeah. But so I'm looking forward to catching this one. Looks like it's a little bit of an earlier game than most Pac-12 games, so I might have to try to put the kids to bed sooner. But so here's a little fun fact for you. I didn't know this off the top of my head, but I just realized this now. If you were to pick a position that was leading the Utes in receiving yards, what position would you pick?
You would guess wide receiver, but what is it, like the left tackle?
Well, almost. It's the tight end.
Of course.
And their leading receiver, he's only got 369 yards. Leading receiver. Pretty wild, huh?
Added.
Granted, they got 4 guys with 300 yards. 2 of them are tight ends.
It's not good. That's not good. That's not good.
But they got a 700-yard rusher, 500-yard rusher, 400.
You get started with that statement first. I mean, to be fair, look at Florida last year. Their leading receiver was a tight end. But according to Dan,
a very special tight end.
To be fair, everyone called him a unicorn. After the question I asked Dan Mullen in the press conference during his pro day. So it's always my claim to fame. So for people who are watching, remember, the unicorn reference started right here of Kyle Pitts, especially when I saw him playing in high school. But that is a topic for another day, especially once you get into draft season. But we'll get into, I guess, our big game of the week, man, without question. The Spartans versus the Buckeyes. Man, this game, there's so much riding on this game. Not only are we talking about a division on the line, a conference on the line.
Yep.
Most importantly, what these teams cared about, there's a playoff spot on the line. Winner of this game, I think, in my opinion, has booked their ticket to the playoffs, no matter what.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you.
No matter
And,
what, Ohio State's winning next week against Michigan. I don't like Michigan. I never will. I don't like Jim Harbaugh. I think Ohio State's going to win next week. I think Michigan State's going to win next week against Penn State. So, you realize that, and so you realize winner of this game is winning the division. They're going to ultimately play what? Wisconsin, probably, is my guess. Wisconsin or Iowa.
Yeah.
Obviously Wisconsin.
Yeah.
I don't see a reason why either one of these teams lose to Wisconsin. Even though Wisconsin's going to be a tough game, I think in the end, both these teams will come out on top.
Yeah.
And then you'll have a one-loss Big Ten champ. So right here, Mel Tucker and Ryan Day, their mentality this week is this is a playoff game. If we don't win this game, we're playing in a bowl game. We win this game, we're playing in a playoff game. That's the mentality.
Right.
Now with that mentality, who do you got in this game?
This one is really exciting, like what you just touched on, because this is one of those games that really represents the excitement around college football because there's so much at stake here. Running in for the division of their conference, getting into the conference championship game, a playoff spot. There's 2 Heisman front runners playing on each team, so there's just a lot going on that's going to be really fun to watch. This is one of those for me. I know I've been saying this a lot this year. Like, well, I might as well just flip a coin because I just really don't know. But based on how the second half of the season has gone for each team, and that it's a home game for Ohio State, I think the Buckeyes are going to win this one.
Nice. Again, like you guys said, it feels like a coin flip type of game because both teams seem evenly matched. They have 2 fantastic running backs. We talked about Kenneth Walker from Michigan State, but Trayvon Henderson, I think, has been a top-tier running back, but he wasn't getting the attention like Walker and Bijan Robinson has. But he's been having a scary good year this year. And Michigan State, you look at the one loss. It's Purdue. They're always that sneaky team that has that one weird win every year. They beat Ohio State every year. It's always Purdue. So, I don't even want to look at that as that's a bad loss for Michigan State. No, that's always a tough game to play. So I don't like to look at it like that. And you look at Ohio State's one loss. It was to Oregon. That's a very good loss to have. So I'm going to go with the upset. I'm going to go with the Spartans to go into Columbus and take down Ohio State. I think, there was a lot of uncertainty the last couple of weeks of Mel Tucker's future at Michigan State, but with him now signing this huge mega extension, now hats off to him. I'm going to go with Michigan State to rally behind Mel Tucker. Ohio State's run defense hasn't been spectacular. They haven't seen a running back like Kenneth Walker. I'm gonna go with the Spartans to upset the Buckeyes, and I think Michigan State's going back to the playoffs for the first time since 2015.
Mm-hmm.
The Cook years, man. I'm going with it. I'm going with the upset. Fight on.
Nice. I like it. I'm really looking forward to this game.
Yeah, this is a game I'm gonna make sure I'm available for. So
right. Oh, it's an early game too.
Is it? Was it the 12 o'clock game or is it the 3 o'clock game?
12 Eastern.
Oh wow! I have to wake up and immediately watch that game.
Yeah, it's 10 our time. Yep.
This is the best part about living on the West Coast is I wake up and there's sports. I can watch the late games and not go to bed the next day. Listen, anybody who's watching who's on the East Coast is, the West Coast sucks. No. Nothing better. Yes, I miss college game day. It sucks pretty much. But I wake up and there's football on right away. You can't beat that. I guess probably you still gotta wait because you're a dad and you're waking up at the ass crack of dawn. But
I was gonna say I like NFL Sundays when they play in London because kickoffs at 7 a.m.
Yeah, that
just keeps rolling into games.
I miss those games. Those games, I'm like, yep, I'm not waking up at 6 a.m.
Yeah.
I'm missing the Jacksonville Jaguars versus the Atlanta Falcons. Darn.
Yeah, missed it.
All right. I got one last thing that so every day when I wake up, the first show that's only on is usually Good Day on ESPN, and they have a segment where they have one random guy come up with some crazy trivia question. The other people try to guess. They keep tallies of it.
Okay.
I want a question. Finally did a college football question, and I'm going to ask you to see what you think.
Okay.
Which current college quarterback has played the most top 25 teams this season? I think it was this season or all time. I feel like it was this season. Let me just confirm.
Okay.
I feel like it was. Oh yeah, it was all right this season.
Just this season. I'm not cheating. I'm just looking at a list of teams to help me think if that's all right.
Go for it.
Which quarterback?
Yep.
Which
You get to Google the quarterback. That's fine. If you can name me the team, I'll give you that.
Because
So he's trying to.
is it
Start spitting some names off.
hold on.
Yeah, I didn't get this correct when they asked it. So if you can get it, bravo to you.
Is it Purdue?
Nope.
It's not. Because that one's like a quick choice. Because they played like Iowa and then they beat Michigan State, so it's not Purdue.
You're close though. I'll give you a hint. You are close.
Close as in right conference.
You're close.
So they've played 1, 2, 3, 4 top 25 teams.
Quarterback I have has played 5.
Who?
The quarterback that I'm referencing has played 5.
Has played 5.
Or no, I think at the time he played 4. Are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep. Sorry, no, he's played 4 as well as Purdue. At the time, Purdue had played 3. But once by the end of the year, he's gonna keep the record by the end of the year. To give you a better hint, right conference. They're playing 2 ranked teams the end of the year in that conference.
Oh, CJ Stroud.
Nope.
Well, he's doing that too.
Yeah, but this guy's played more.
Really?
You're in the right conference. Maybe don't think for the top tier teams of the conference. Just this a suggestion, but I'm not smart. I only went to Cleveland State University. Covered.
Okay.
Just start naming Big Ten teams at this point. I literally told you what conference it is.
Oh, little Tua.
Nope.
Dang it.
I like that. I like that name, and I'm gonna tell my little sister that. It's Little Tua.
Sean Clifford.
Nope.
What?
Quarterbacks from the Big Ten at this point.
What's that?
You're just naming quarterbacks from the Big Ten at this point, and I think you've named every single quarterback but this one at this point. You haven't mentioned Wisconsin's quarterback. That's not the right answer, but just keep going.
That's not the right answer. Peyton Thorne.
Nope. Oh my god. I don't even know what school that kid's from. What school is he from?
Michigan State.
Yeah, no. I should know that actually.
I should know that too, but I don't. Cade McNamara.
Nope.
Come on, man.
I think you've literally named the whole conference at this point. Are you going to name old teams in the Big Ten? Are you going to start doing that too? How does Adrian Martinez from Nebraska sound?
Oh, man. We were talking about them, 2 weeks ago? How they've had narrow losses to so many good teams.
So, Oklahoma, Michigan State, Michigan, Minnesota, Ohio State, and they played Wisconsin and Iowa at the end of the year.
Oh, my gosh. That's not – yeah, they lost to Oklahoma by 7. They lost to Michigan State by 3. Lost to Michigan by 3.
And then extended Scott Frost because that's the dumbest thing they could do.
Yeah, but he's so close to being good. He's so close, Adam.
Yeah, like every other coach that's been getting fired. They're so close, but, one more year is not going to make a difference. James Franklin, one more year of him being a great recruiter is not going to help the program.
Crazy.
See, there you go. You know what? Next week, I'm going to come out with even better trivia questions. New thing. We're going to start that. We're going to keep tallies. How many times can I stump you? And
Well, that's fine. I'll bring some to the table then too.
we'll take turns every week, seeing who can stump each other. But man, another quick hour, man, as always. But got another fun week ahead of you. Big games this week. A lot of playoff implications. We haven't discussed it, but I'm willing to bet next week we will not be live on next Thursday, as it is a very important holiday, Thanksgiving. Make sure you spend time with your family, loved ones, whatever you want to do. Just make sure you're celebrating the holiday. We will be doing some sort of show next week, I hope. We will figure out how that's going to look probably as soon as we hop off this. But make sure you also tune into all the other fantastic shows here at the Cut FFB. You have the DFS Dive tomorrow night at whatever time they start. Just tune in around 5-ish. Let's go with that for right now. Let's see what else. Monday, Christian and Randy have the Cut, their show. Wednesday, the Coach Approach with our good friend Bruce and Coach Brett and Coach Bruce. And obviously, every Thursday we're here at the Cut the Cut FB, CFB, whatever. I don't know. I can't really speak right now. But Jerred, final thoughts. What do you got going into this weekend?
Another exciting week. We're gonna really start seeing some conference standings get decided, and then of course too we'll see how the playoffs are going to continue to shape out from here. But mostly a lot of the conference stuff is really going to start to shake out here these last 2 weeks. So keep an eye on that good stuff, and then don't forget to place your bets on some Heisman Trophy winners. Don't be, even at this point, don't be afraid to kind of take a long shot because it's still a pretty tight race. So should be a good week of football.
I'm super excited. You're going to start to see, we're getting into the hard season where we're talking about playoffs. We're talking about conference championship games. We're talking about bowl games. I got to see where Marshall's going. Maybe we got the Bahamas Bowl this year. Maybe we're going to spend Christmas in the Bahamas, which would be better than our location last year in, Birmingham, Alabama on Christmas Day. So, we'll see what happens. But it's been a fantastic show. We'll be back next week. At some point next week, we'll figure it out. But we have a lot of good stuff planned starting in the postseason. We'll be doing some sort of live show right after the final playoff rankings. Talk briefly about that. We'll figure out what we're doing for the bowl games. Next week, we are talking about doing a big coaching carousel prediction episode. Trying to think who we're going to see is going to go to which, who's taking what jobs, vice versa. So a lot of fun stuff planned for the next few weeks. Make sure you tune in. Make sure you subscribe to the Cut Podcast Network. Make sure you follow Jerred and I on Twitter and any other social media accounts you have. Make sure you tune in every week. We're a lot more planned. We're almost done the first season, but we got a lot more to go. So, as always, Jerred, it's been a pleasure. Make sure you subscribe, and we will see you all next week.